Yeah, it is. I just got there. We did our first client Thursday over at the new place. Oh yeah, they gave me some free donuts. I said, don't start that. No, you didn't. I said, don't start it. She said, you a donut hole too. I said, I just got my donut. You gonna give me a donut? And then she gave me a chocolate free. Chocolate.
Okay, I'm sorry. I am 1 minute late. Broke my record. Let's go. It is now 6:01, and I will call the February meeting of the Mayor and Council to order. If we will all stand, we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance, and if you'll remain standing, Pastor Landry of Mighty Moore's Methodist Church is going to come up and do our invocation.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Dr. Landry.
Thank you.
Bow your heads, if you will. Gracious and wonderful Almighty God, we gather right now just to say thank you. Thank you, dear God, for your goodness and your mercy.
Yes, Lord.
And Lord, right now we ask that you would touch all of those families who were affected by the recent plane crash, dear God. Warm them with your love, dear God. And we pray not only for the city council, but we pray for all of our city leaders, and we say a special prayer for the president and all of those who are leading this nation, dear God.
Lord Jesus.
Guide us in the way you would have us to go.
Yes, Lord.
May we always do everything to bring glory to your name. We pray this prayer and every prayer in the precious name of your darling Son, Jesus the Christ. Let every heart say amen.
Amen. Thank you, Dr. Landry. Okay. All right. Well, we have no citizens' comments, so we'll just keep going down the agenda. We have the minutes from our January 2025 meeting. Do I have a motion to adopt those?
So move.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. The next item on the agenda is our mayor and council announcements and comments. And Council Lady Bridges, we'll start with you.
And nothing today.
Okay, Councilman Uglum.
Well, I was just thinking it was only 2 weeks and 2 days ago that we had a major snow event in Carrollton, Georgia. As we all walk in short sleeves or whatever today, no, at least most of us no jackets, but I'd want to say thank you to our city public works department that took such great care of our city, and the police department that they did a great job with the streets and our utilities. And other than my furnace going out the day it snowed, it was kind of a non-event. We're thankful.
Go. Okay. She passed the baton to me, so I don't really have a lot this evening. I hope everybody's enjoying this beautiful weather because we all know it's not going to last, don't we? But I too would like to commend the sanitation department and all those that worked throughout the snow event we had here in Carrollton. It takes a lot of people just to keep the necessities going. When nobody else is working, there's always people from the city that are working, and I just wanted to thank them tonight.
I definitely need to echo that, because in addition to, as she said, picking up the garbage, we had a pipe burst in my neighborhood, and they were out working on that, and I think it was about 15 degrees. So, but yes, I say the same thing. Thank you.
Well, I'll echo all that. We have a great staff here, and I've never asked any of them to do anything that they weren't willing to do, and you can't say that for a lot of places, but they do work hard and they work together, and that's really great. And I think things go really well. We have hiccups just like everybody else, but I'm really glad. And we've got some events coming up. The ARC dance is coming up this weekend, and that's always greatly supported for our special citizens, and if you can attend that. And I know he doesn't solicit it, but I'm telling you, they do so much for our community. I'm going to do it, the pancake breakfast. And Councilman Uglum would probably have some tickets if you would like to buy some, or you can just pay at the door. But that's a very well-attended event. It's almost like going home for breakfast because you see so many people there and you don't see them any other time except at the pancake breakfast. So it's a good day to catch up.
Thanks,
All right.
Betty. Tickets will be in your mailbox.
Okay, this time we'll ask Mr. Brooks if he has any comments.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to echo what you guys said about our public works, our police and fire. When we have advance warning of these weather events, I know it probably drives our department heads crazy, but I get Chief Richards and Chief English and Mike Green, our public works director, and Tony Richardson, Tommy Holland and all, and I make them come to, we have a meeting. I say, okay, where are we at? Are we ready to go? And just a list of things that they've done. Generators full of gas, cars full of gas, letting some of our public works take the old four-wheel drives home so they can get back in if they need to. Who's working? You know, food for the ones that may have to be here for a long period of time because of the snow, and just the preparation that goes into it and the level of accuracy or the level of pride that they take in making sure that they're ready to provide the best service possible is tremendous, and I appreciate what they do. And I had the opportunity on Christmas Day to drive around and go see all the different, I went to every fire department, police department, and wastewater and water, and just to tell the folks that are there working on Christmas Day when I don't have to be, thank you for what you're doing. And they take a great deal of pride in knowing that they are allowing the citizens of Carrollton to have a great holiday, and they're a big part of it. So just kudos to all those guys.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda items for consideration. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda items for consideration? I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. The first item on our agenda under the approved items is a proclamation for the George Washington Carver High School's 70th anniversary. And at this time, I have the proclamation, but I think we have someone here to speak on behalf of Carver's High School. So if you want to come up to the podium and say a few words. I'll read it in a minute, but you go ahead.
My name is Carrollton-GA. I was born and raised in Temple. And 60 years ago, I was 17, going on 18, and getting ready to graduate from Carver High School. And then I left town after I graduated. I went to Southern California because in 1965, Carroll County was not a pleasant place for African Americans, especially young, ambitious black kids like me that were looking for a future. So I went to California to wait for freedom to come. So 30 years later, I came back to take care of my mother. And I discovered that very few people even remembered Carver High. And even fewer remembered the black elementary schools. And I thought, well, something's got to be done about this. So eventually, we planned a 50th anniversary celebration for Carver High, and we started planning in 2004, and the event was 2005 Labor Day weekend, which happened to be Katrina weekend. So these dates we will never forget. But as we came together to plan our reunion, we decided we wanted to create a museum and to preserve our history. And Well, we were given part of the old Carver High building, but that didn't work out. So eventually, I went on to do a traveling exhibit, which is now at Billerica Public Library, and it's there every year during Black History Month. So the Carver High story is a story that a lot of people don't want to be told, don't want to hear about. They want us to keep our history to ourselves. But to those people, I would say, if your ancestors had wanted us to have a better story to tell, they would have given it to us. We have what we have. Although we can't do anything about the past, it's gone. We can do something about the future. 2025 is going to be the past for my grandnephew. And we have it within our power, the adults in this room, to make sure that he and all the other kids have a better story to tell when they are my age. So that's all I have to say about that.
Do you want to introduce your students back there?
I have Carver High people here. I call them the Alpha and Omega. Well, we have Ms. North, who is a member of the class of 1955. That was the first graduating class. And then we have Major Hendricks and other classmates. You guys got to stand. They were from the last graduating class in 1968.
Would y'all stand, please?
And Gladys's husband was from the class, the year before, yeah.
At the old school now,
At
CCTS.
Carroll County Training School, which preceded Carver High.
Oh,
You can
okay.
stand up too, because
Please stand.
we
Yeah.
can blame you. You guys stand up.
Okay.
So we have the class of 68 and the class of 55, my grandson,
Oh, okay.
and 54.
All right. Well, I'm going to read the proclamation, and I'll let y'all sit back down, and then after I read it, we'll come down here and I'll make a presentation to y'all, okay?
Okay, thank you.
This proclamation is dedicated to the member of the Carverites who departed this life down through the years, which now include Miss Maddie Hoggs Wilson, Carver's beloved librarian during the 1960s, who died on December 26, 2024, and to her late husband, Mr. Charles E. Wilson, who died on January 19, 2023, who served as Carver High during the same period, first as an educator and as an athletic coach, and has succeeded Mr. L.S. Mollett as Carver's second principal from 1967 until the school closed in the spring of 1969. Whereas George Washington Carver High School opened its doors in September 1954 on Alabama Street in Carrollton, Georgia, 6 months after the historical signing of the Brown versus Board of Education Supreme Court decision that outlawed segregation in the nation's public schools. Whereas George Washington Carver High School was one of the many black schools built by the state of Georgia as part of the Southern Strategy, which defined the Brown decision in order to continue operating public schools under the court's previous separate but equal decision under Plessy and Ferguson, which legitimized segregation of public schools, and because of the quality of existing black schools, necessitated building a new school to give validity to their dreams. And whereas George Washington Carver High School was founded on a segregated, consolidated county high school to serve only African American students, 8th through 12th grade, residing throughout the city and unincorporated areas of Carrollton and in the county municipalities of Bowden, Bowden Junction, Clem, Rooteville, Temple, Billerica, and Whitesburg. And whereas during the tumultuously days of the dawning of the civil rights movement, where black lives were under constant threat, Carver High School became a beacon of hope and a safe and nurturing space where each year several hundred black teens from families locked out of advancement opportunities were able to temporarily escape the harsh realities of the Jim Crow world that constantly reminded them of their less than status. They melted into the world of Carver High, where stern but fair principal L.S. Millett, backed by an impressive HBCU-trained faculty who regularly dished out valuable facts of life along with their academic lessons to encourage all Carver High School students to rise to their God-given potential and become known for their unique gifts, talents, and personalities. Whereas the students of George Washington Carver High School excelled academically and athletically, and most went on to pursue interest in professional careers in a variety of fields. Some became elected officials, educators, business leaders, entertainers, sports heroes. Most of Carver High School's male graduate and some females also attained significant rank and honor in the U.S. military service. And today, many of Carver High School sweethearts and other alumni are the proud great nanas and pop-pops, aunties, uncles, and cousins of the most current generations of the students attending Carroll County schools. And whereas George Washington Carver School has many claims to fame, two of its most significant are in the first school year, 1954 to 55, Carver High School became the first high school in Carroll County to win a state football championship. Go Jackets. And Carver lays claim to the legacy of the 1952 Olympic gold medalist Catherine Hardy Lavender, who graduated from Carver High School, forerunner Carroll County Training School in 1946. Now, therefore, being the 70th anniversary year of the George Washington Carver High School's first graduating class, the class of 1955, I, Betty Cason, Mayor of the City of Carrollton, do hereby designate 2025 as the George Washington Carver High School's 70th anniversary year, and encourage all citizens and visitors to go to our fair city and county to give all due praise and honor to the surviving members and descendants of the George Washington Carver High School family. And furthermore, we encourage them to visit the Carver High School Experience traveling exhibit on display during the month of February at the Villa Rica Public Library, this third day of February 2025. Okay, congratulations. Okay, y'all want to come down for a picture?
Y'all get in the front there. Let these 64, 54 and 55. They let them be the centerpiece.
Everybody take some giant steps that way. You gotta line up too.
And Sebastian's gonna stand behind you because he's the top.
We're gonna all get one line.
We can do more than one line.
There you go.
Everybody looking this way.
Pretty quiet, man.
It's great to see you. Absolutely.
Come on, I'll get a picture with you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a special use and waiver request for 201 Hayes Mill Road. Ms. Stoddard?
Yes, ma'am. The first zoning item on your agenda is a special use permit request in the RM zoning district, which is the residential multifamily zoning district. The request is at 201 Hayes Mill Road. The request, it's commonly referred to as Governor's Courts Apartments. The request is to add one additional residential unit in what is an existing detached office space. There is currently 40 units on the property. As you well know, anything over 6 units per acre, this is just under 4 acres, anything under over 6 units per acre does require a special use permit. So with that one additional unit, they do need to get a special use permit for that. In addition to this special use request, the detached building is only 468 square feet, which is below our typical minimum standard for apartments. And so they are also requesting a waiver for that, basically from that square footage requirement to allow the office to become an apartment. The Planning Commission reviewed this request at their January meeting, and they unanimously approved that request with that waiver as well.
Okay, you've heard the request and you've heard the Planning Commission's decision. Do I have a motion to approve the use and waiver request?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. The next is a rezoning request for North Winds Boulevard, Wisteria Lane.
Yes.
Okay, well, hold on just a second. Before. Okay, all right. Wisteria Landing Phase 3.
Yes. The final zoning item on your agenda this evening, at this time, staff is actually requesting a table for 1 month. We are working on the applicant to develop a single-family detached product for this site, and they are working on completing those materials for your review. And so at this time, we are requesting a table for this particular item,
All right.
or a postponing.
Do I have a motion to grant the request?
So moved.
Have a motion, do I have a second? Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is our fiscal year 24 audit presentation. This is always exciting.
Got some riveting stuff here. Mayor and Council, I'm Chris Oliphil of Rush, and I appreciate you having us here to present your audit. Appreciate your confidence in our firm, and thank you. First of all, many of you may know, I know you know my colleague Julie George here, as president as well, and I just want to thank Kevin and all his team for all they did to make the effort of the audit go very smooth. And really all the departments, we visit most all the departments and deal with those and ask them to pull some things for us too, so we appreciate their help. So, but this is the end result of the audit, big thick book here. So you got a lot of good stuff in there. We're going to stick to just the highlights here in the presentation. You should have a hard copy here, also up on the screen as well, and we'll go through those as quickly as we can here. So our audit opinion, you'll see 3 letters in the report from our firm, okay? The first one here, I'll go over all 3 tonight, but the first one here is audit opinion letter. This is where we're talking about the responsibilities of either party, responsibilities of the city, even though we assist in preparing these financial statements, the numbers, these financial statements that are in here, those are the responsibility of the city. Our responsibility is to give an opinion on the financial statements so that the reader of the financials knows that a third-party CPA firm has looked at those and they can trust and place reliance on those numbers that they're fairly stated. We've given a good, clean opinion on the financial statements. Okay, government-wide statements. I know we talk a little bit about this every year, and I think it's important just to cover a few numbers in here from the standpoint of when you only see these two statements when we put the audit report together. And it's sort of like consolidating all the activities of the city, all the funds combined, where you're used to looking at those individually. And we talked about the statement of net position, okay, and the statement of activities. So statement of net position, sort of like in balance sheet in business terms. Statement of activities, sort of like an income statement in business terms. And we'll talk about just a few numbers out of those. So I want to cover out of the statement of net position the government-wide net position numbers, okay, for the last 5 years here. Think about what is net position. It's assets, everything that the city owns, less liabilities, everything that the city owes. The difference in those is the net position. And you can see for the last 5 years here, 2020 through 2024, we ended up at the end of 2024, $227.5 million in total net position. That's up $13.6 million from the previous year. There's three categories of net position. In the blue, the largest part of most any government that you will see is the net investment in capital assets, okay? Think about all the infrastructure, this building, vehicles, land, all that the city owns, less accumulated depreciation over time on those assets, less any related debt that accompanies those assets is the blue number there, $191.3 million. Then in the red there, restricted, almost $7.4 million. Those would be net position of funds that would be restricted for a certain purpose. Your SPLOST dollars, they have to be spent based on the voter referendum. Those are set aside restricted. Hotel motel dollars, same way, the various restrictions of the city. And then we get into the green there, everything else falls into that category. That's your unrestricted. Again, all funds combined of the city, $28.8 million in the unrestricted category. Okay, on the next slide, now we think about change in net position. We're going to flip over to that statement of activities, pull the bottom line number for all funds combined, revenues less expenses is what we're talking about here. 2024, $13.6 million, okay? You see this graph is kind of all over the place, and kind of let me just kind of walk through you what has happened in these years. You think 2020, COVID year, okay? Things was kind of slowed down a little bit there. And then in 2021, we received all the CARES Act dollars to help with that COVID. We're go up in the graph there, and then down in 2022, we made some changes to the retirement plan. I think we had a compensation study, did raises across the board, spent some dollars in that year. And then in 2023, we got some additional grant fundings called ARPA. If you remember, those come in for all the infrastructure, shot back up again. And then in 2024, a lot of activity, a lot of construction going on. We had an increase in water and sewer revenues in there, and then we had various other tax revenues that increased across the board, and both of those are consistent with what we're seeing with our other clients, a lot of economic activity happening at this moment. So, okay. General fund. So now we're going to focus on just a few individual funds by themselves. The general fund, general operating fund of the city, if you look at the revenues, 2024 compared to 2023, we increased to $829,000, 2.6%. Those are just three of the most significant changes that happened in our revenue there. Property taxes, interest rates up. We're seeing a lot of interest earnings taking advantage of that with our clients. Expenditures, they decreased $8.7 million during the year. We had a one-time contribution out the previous year. And then our public safety increased $1.5 million, mainly related to some capital expenditures that were in '24 that we didn't have in 2023. Okay? Then we talk about fund balance, unassigned fund balance. So similar to what I talked about earlier on net position, but in the general fund, we just refer to it as fund balance, a little bit different basis of accounting. But again, it's assets less our liabilities than just the general fund. You can see we ended up at $22.5 million, up from the previous year. And if you look at that and just compare to overall months that we have in fund balance, because that is the position that we can carry forward into future years, into the next year to use for various budgets or projects that we have. The city's done a great job on really being very conservative in its budgeting on the revenue side. So I would say we're pretty conservative on how you look at that, which is a great thing. And then also just keeping a very close eye on our expenditures that are happening in our general fund is what's mainly causing tribute to that increase. But we have about 8.5 months there. Good financial position for the city to be in. And we look at 5-year trends here on revenues and other financing sources and expenditures and other financing uses. I know that's a lot of words there, but just think about it as ins and outs of the general fund. Okay, if we look at 2024, $36.7 million there in revenues, $35.3 million there in expenditures. So, the previous year we had some ARPA dollars that came into the general fund to fund some salaries and other benefits that came in. So that's why the 2023 number sort of spiked up a little bit. That kind of skews that number there. And then in expenditures in 2024, we also transferred out some dollars to the capital project fund as a new way of how we're funding major capital items within the city general operations. Okay. So here's that fund balance. You can see where we've come from in the last 5 years. In 2020, we were at $14 million, and we're up to $22.8 million. You would expect that or hope that to climb over the years from the standpoint as our budget is growing. As revenue is coming in, that is allowing the city to also provide additional services, whatever, to the citizens. All right, so a lot of colors here. Don't stare at that too hard. Just glad it's not spinning around. But anyway, if you look at the revenues, we've got the main thing I want you to gather out of this is all the different colors that are there, all the different pieces of the pie. Okay, so when we have COVID or we have recessions, those type of things, we're not locked just into property tax. We have a lot of different funding sources. We're very diversified in our funding sources with the city. If you look at the funding sources and their size, property taxes is not even the largest in the general fund. Okay? Local option sales tax is. General fund is second, and charges for services is third. Charges and services would include, like the park and rec, would be one thing that's included in that, along with other charges that we're providing services that we're charging for just in the general fund. Okay? If you look on the expenditure side, public safety is pretty well the norm across our clients of what you see, the largest there. And then you see the second's culture and recreation. City of Carrollton has a very large culture and recreation rec department, and they seem to do a great job, a lot of activity there, and it's great to see. Look at the water and sewage fund. All right, so we got 3 lines on this for this 5-year trends here. If you look at the top line, we've got operating revenue. So we're at almost $22.3 million. That's up $2.3 million from the previous year. That goes back to when I was referring earlier about water and sewage being up during the year. It's 11.5% increase on the revenue side. Okay. If you look at the expenses, pretty well flat. We're at 14.35 or 14.33 the year before. That's pretty remarkable that it stayed that flat as much as going on in the water and sewage fund. again, keeping an eye on those expenses that are happening there. And so then you see the bottom line is basically our operating net income, meaning our revenues over expenses in that fund for operations. You can see it went from 5.6 up to $7.9 million. And just as a side note here, you know, we've got, you must meet certain debt coverage ratios, mainly related to your GFA loans, those type things. We're well above that. I mean, we're at 9.89% on our coverage there. I think requirements maybe 1 or 1.1, so we're way above there in good financial shape and any coverage on our debt. All right, sanitation fund on the operating revenues and expenses. Up top, the operating revenue, you can see in 2023, we kind of intersected there with our expenses, pretty well close to even, but we had a 11.1% increase in our revenue in this fund, up $700,000 up to $6.8 million. Our expenses here, $5.6 million, they're down 7.4%. So our expenses went down there. So you can kind of see a trend with the city. The revenues are going up. Our expenditures are kind of been flat or decreasing in some aspects there. And so you see here we've got a revenue to our expenses of $1,194,000. That's that bottom green line. And you can really see where we have come from here. I mean, and this fund is doing very well now also. 21 and 22, we had deficits in this fund on the operations side. We got out of that a little bit in 23 and really jumped here in 2024.
We have a city manager that rules with an iron rod.
Good job, David.
Absolutely.
All right, so I've talked about what I refer to as the major funds, meaning the larger major operating funds of the city. We also, and I've got two others here that we refer to, and in our profession when we do this reporting we're required, funds of certain size, meaning certain dollar size, are referred to as major, and then we have these other funds that we call non-major funds, okay? So we report individually the majors in the report. Two others to just make note of major funds, your capital project fund, your general capital project fund. We transferred in $8.5 million during the year. From the general fund, the water and sewer fund, the sanitation fund, all made up of that, it contributed that $8.5 million. We had interest revenue. We have not yet had any expenditures in 2024. The fund was created in 24, and to capital projects funded for amounts committed by mayor and council. And then we have the 2021 SPLOST fund. We had total revenues in there of $7.9 million. 7.8 of that, almost 7.9, almost the whole thing, of course, is from SPLOST dollars. Then we had a little bit of interest, almost $7,500 worth of interest, and then we spent out $7.5 million out of the SPLOST dollars in that fund. And then we have 10 other funds that I'm not going to mention tonight. We just refer to as non-major, smaller funds of the city. All right, I mentioned we had 3 letters. I've got 2 back-to-back here we're going to talk about. Under government auditing standards, we also are required to look at significant internal controls of the city, compliance with laws, regulations, debt agreements, grants, that whatsoever. That report can be found on page 130 to 131 in there. If you look on page, the next slide here, similar report here where we're looking at internal controls and compliance with just how the city handles its federal dollars. Okay? Because sometimes those compliance and internal controls requirements can be a little different on how we handle federal dollars based on grant agreements. Okay? And so that report can be found on page 132 to 134. Okay, just a couple more will be done here. In fiscal year 24, GASB, Government Accounting Standards Board. They set all the accounting regulations that governments must follow throughout the country. Okay? They're all the time making changes, putting out different pronouncements of, we want you to do it this way now, we want you to report it this other way. They put out one here on how to accounting changes and error corrections. All right, we implemented that, but we didn't have any errors or changes to report, you know. So what that would be an example is if we were doing this year's audit and we came across something new that we didn't know last year's audit that might have not been absolute correct in the report, we would have what's called a prior period adjustment. This just tells us how differently to handle that now, but we didn't have any of that with the city this year. And then the next one, GASB 101, has to do with compensated absences. It has had a pretty significant impact on most of our clients as we're looking at it. First group round to implement those are governments that have a December 31 year end. We're working on those right now. We had one June 30 this last year that chose to, we're going to get ahead and early implement that, and so we got a good taste of that. Compensated absences, fancy word for accrued leave, accrued time, okay? In the past, this mainly included paid time off, vacation time. Well, now we're required to look at that a little bit different way. And if there are some other benefits that accrue that will be paid in the future, such as sick or something like that, then we may have to pull that into that as well. And typically with our clients, we're seeing that liability, we must accrue a liability for future payment when it's earned, has increased some. For our government. So we'll be working with Kevin and his staff. We've already been talking about that, be implemented in this next fiscal year. Okay, so that's my presentation. Can I answer any questions?
Chris, I don't have a question. I just guess need a confirmation. I know some people look at our fund balance and think that's an enormous amount of money for the city to have. But by state law, we are required to maintain a certain number of operating funds to be able to operate. And I know we have probably a little more than 6 months. And if you would just speak to that, please.
It would be nice if it was actually state law that required us to keep
Well,
some of that. But there are best practices to that for sure. And what I
okay.
mean when I say that is just we have many clients that don't have the minimum of what they should have too, and we try to encourage them on how to build that budget or to build that fund balance going forward. Where you have too much, too little, all has to do with what your future plans are, right? Mm-hmm. We typically say to have at least a minimum best practice, a minimum of 3 to 4 months. What you have about that can be different amongst different cities on what you have plans for. For example, y'all have moved dollars out of the general fund, which would decrease that fund balance, okay? You have moved dollars out of the general fund over to the capital project fund because you have a plan for future capital projects that are going to come up. Mm-hmm. That's the type of thing that you would build to save for future projects, not keep a minimum and then try to do the project without those savings there. So right. I think it's just important to note that y'all have a plan
yes.
for that, and I would by no means say you had too much
mm-hmm.
in the fund balance.
Yeah, but the purpose of having the fund balance is because just like during COVID, there were a lot of the revenues that were really flatlined, and I know a lot of cities had to lay off employees, they had to terminate employees just because they didn't have any money. And this is why we do what we do and try to keep this money, is so that if something does happen, we're prepared. That's basically the way I look at it.
That's great. You don't want to be in a position either where you might have to raise property taxes or something like
right.
that to garner some big project that came up. So
yeah, okay.
It's sort of like your personal savings at home, right?
Yeah.
You keep how much you want to operate.
Rainy day fund, yeah. Anybody else have a question?
No, thank you, Chris.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Y'all do a great job.
Y'all do, you do a great job, and we appreciate what you do. And we appreciate our accounting department. And I know they're not all here, but I get the ones that are here to stand. This is Kevin Bush. And Kevin has acquired a new person, so I'll let you introduce her.
This is Hadley Jenkins. Hadley is our new staff accountant. She started in December.
Yeah.
So we're excited to have her.
Yeah. And they do a great job. And as I said, just joking about our.
No, you weren't
It's the truth, he really does. He does a great job, and he keeps his eyes on the budget and makes sure that we stay within our budget and works well with the department heads, and we really do appreciate that. He's done a great job. Anything else?
No, Madam Mayor, it'd be appropriate for you to accept a motion to accept the audit as
Okay.
presented.
All right. So any other questions or discussions before we do that? Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the audit as presented?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Julie.
Great night.
Okay. The next item we have is Highway 61 Development City Sewer Access.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, we discussed this in our work session of the development that is coming up 61 right there at the end of our, where our sewer line runs up that way. It is going to be an auto dealership, and they are asking to access the city sewer line. As we've stated before, because it is outside the city limits, we require mayor and council approval now on anybody to tie on. It is the type of business or commercial development that we look for on that corridor, something that would have little impact on the sewer line, but could be beneficial to the city and the region as a whole. And we feel like this would be it would be okay to allow them to do that. Thank you.
Okay. Do we need motion? Do I have a motion to approve this city sewer access?
So move.
Have a motion. Do I have a second? Have a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Before we go into executive session, I'm sorry I failed to recognize our youth council members that are here. Y'all stand up for me. This is our future leaders standing here. Part of their requirement of the Youth Council Leadership Program is to attend the council meetings, and so we have some of them here tonight, and we're glad they're here. And thank you, Ms. Tara, for the great job you do. Okay, do I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. At this time, we will go out into executive session. We will come back if there is a need for any further business to be conducted. Otherwise, we'll just come back and adjourn the meeting. Thank you. Okay, do I have a motion to go back into regular session? I have a motion to go back into regular session. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. At this time, we have made a recommendation for our city attorney, Ms. Melissa Griffiths. Do I have a motion to approve her appointment as city attorney?
I want to approve, as the city councilwoman of Mayor Pro Temp of the city of Carrollton, to accept the recommendation for Ms. Melissa Griffiths to be our city attorney.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries. Congratulations, Ms. Griffiths.
Thank you very much. I look forward to working with you all.
We look forward to working with you. Now, do I have a motion to adjourn? Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, meeting adjourned.